Welcome to our video tutorial on building splines part 3. In this one, we're actually going to build a spline. Now you need to watch the previous two videos because they show how to get the data, format the data, as well as create the x-not1 function that we're going to use. So we're going to need those, and we're going to use the notation from the previous videos. So you might want to go back and look at those so that this one makes sense. So the first thing I want to do is get rid of this, what did I have as data1 hold? It was my variable name because when I went from a wide file to a long file, I want to just peel off what I want here. So the first column is my x variable, my y variable is the second column, and that'll do that. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a variable called k40, and this is going to be a not at 40. So what I'm going to use is my x-not1 function. I'm going to put in x1, which is my x variable, and then I'm going to put in 40. 40 if I can type it right. All right, and this is going to set up all the pieces that I need to make a spline, which I'm going to name spline 1 is going to be an LM, and I'm going to use y1 tilde x1 plus k40. Now, this is going to allow me to fit this model. So let's give this a run real quick. We can see what spline 1 has in it. Spline 1 has the coefficients that we're interested in. So it's not actually the spline, it's the coefficients that we're getting out of this. And you can see it has an intercept, it has a slope, and this slope corresponds to the first 40 units. After that, the slope is this plus this, which then we'll notice it'll become negative because this is bigger in magnitude than this. So we'll end up with a slope of negative 0.03 something going out from 40 and beyond, so it should have a negative slope. All right, so now let's create some predictors. So create a predictive model from this. So we're going to use the predict function, but before we can do that, we need some x data. So I'm going to call this x2, and it's just going to be 1 through 120 because that is the range of my x data. It goes from 1 to 120. All right, then I'm going to need to create another k40 type thing. So I'm making it x2 k40, and I'm going to use x-not1. I'm going to put in, if I can spell it correctly, and then I'm going to put x2, and then I'm going to put in 40 again. These have to match. Okay, what we're doing is we're building another data set that we're going to use the predict function on, and it will predict a new line out through our data. So this is why it has to match exactly. So then what we're going to do is create x new 1, and it's going to be a data frame where x1 is equal to x2. Now the names of this have to match the names in the model. Okay, so it's looking for what are the x variables, what are the x2 variables. So, and then we're going to have x2 or k40 is equal to x2 k40. Okay, and this will set up our data frame. So we'll run this real quick. This will give us our predictive data frame, and then we can use the predict function. So we can predict. I'll call it pred spline 1, and here I'm going to use the predict function, and I'm going to use spline 1 as my model, and then I have to have new data, and this is going to be equal to x new 1. Okay, and this will give me my predictions out. So if I run this now, this will give me my predictions, but it's going to put them in a data set. So I need to look at that real quick. So if I look at pred spline 1, this is all I get are just numbers, okay, which correspond to going up and going back down. So let's go through and plot this on here because that's actually what we want. So this is my picture from last time, and you can go, if you've been following along, and create this picture again. And what I'm going to do is just going to add a lines to it. It's going to go from 1 to 120, and it's going to have pred.spline 1, if I can type it correctly, as my y variable, and here I'm going to make the line width equal to maybe 3 and the color equal to, I don't know, Dodger blue. Okay, and let me move this way so that you can see all of the code. Okay, now that I have that, this should add our lines on here, and we can see exactly what this did. So if I do this, you can see we fit a spline here. I'll just give it a second. Through this data, and now it's no longer a straight line. What we did is we put in the spline in here. So here's the line that comes up, and there's the other line that goes down, and it switches at 40. Okay, which is exactly what that knot corresponds to, is where it switches. So what we might want to do is, in the next video, is figure out how could I put in some more knots that would allow it to fit this even better. And right now we're just using a linear spline. We're a first order spline. So just keep that in mind. We're just using a first order spline. We can make these things curvy, and we'll do those in a later video. But right now, we're going to stop here, so we'll see you in the next video.